This build's name is Peak Amplitude. I'll jump into the breakdown first and then some matches. Hey everybody, a really fun build here today. This one is based on the Moonlight again, and I wanted to use a build that would use the VE20B booster with arms that are enhancing melee spec. Unlike the Tetra builds that I kind of run like this, that typically need to rely on the larger capacity of the C generator, we're going to really try to make the 20B work here. Now, the way that the build is going to work is leveraging the Kassar's really far jump distance to allow us to maintain medium range with a very strong missile set. These Treno missiles, when stagger fired, are extremely hard to dodge for kites, and so it can be used as sort of a semi-reliable. If a player is really good, they can still evade them, but a pretty strong ranged poke, and it really forces builds to come down to try to rush us down, even if it doesn't suit their build. And in that range, we can take advantage of the charged Moonlight, either staggered or unstaggered, doesn't really matter. This attack does so much damage when you're factoring in the 20B generator plus the arms. The arms and the generator together will give you essentially 1.5 times the normal damage, just when you multiply 19.5% bonus times 25% bonus here. It's going to give you effectively 1.5. I don't want to use the Basho arms on this build, though, just because we do need to have some precision with our PR plasma rifle. The reason we're going to be using this triple fire one is, A, we don't always want to be using the charge attack, and we really want to have the option to have a strong damage uncharged attack on it, and only use the charge attack against lightweights that tend to move really fast. We'll take advantage of its firing animation that shoots a triangle, and it's very hard to evade it just passively. You got to spend energy. So you can just see the animation right there. It just spreads out nicely and creates an AoE attack that really hits hard. This build is fundamentally working on trying to damage the opponent to death before the stagger race really becomes into the question. So let's just go down the parts here. So why the plasma rifle? You could swap this for something like the Warger if you're against rushdowns. I don't like to tune my builds, though, to specific matchups. I like to just make them generalists and just learn to use them good enough. So we're going to use the plasma rifle because it gives us both a good option in close and in far. It does just obscene damage with the 20B generator every shot for close, so it may not have the stagger and the mini stun of the Warger, but it is doing a lot of damage. And then it's got the ability to fire like a web triangle-shaped AoE for lightweight. So it's just the most flexible energy weapon that we can take advantage of the 20B generator with. But yeah, if you want to tune the build, swap for the Warger. Another notable mention would be the Curtis. Having access to multiple quick charge 850 impact tools is really good, and it's really good for comboing as well with the stagger extend. So if you could play around with that, I just really wanted to lean into the 20B generator on this build, though. Okay, so that's how the weapons work. Treno's force builds to come a little bit closer, otherwise they'll get chipped to death. And also just does an obscene amount of stagger when they land, two of them, and it's one of the few missiles that can reliably hit lightweights at extreme range, even if they're very good. Finder Eye is just so the 20B generator doesn't have a lot of energy supply, so we're going to be ending up getting forced to use this. The ephemera core as well, we really need to have a huge generator output adjust in order to get enough EN supply to run energy weapons worth using the 20B on. 4060 arms for low EN cost and high firearm spec and high melee spec. That's pretty self-explanatory. Those arms are perfect. And then the Kassar legs, the jump distance is what really helps us out with the Moonlight. You can actually do a leap forward into your charged Moonlight and carry that momentum. So you'll see a clip of that in a little bit. The SPD booster here, we just need fast passive thrust because we don't have enough energy to QB a lot, and that's just kind of like something we have to deal with on the outset. We do need enough boost speed in order to dodge missiles without QBing. Some other notable mentions: you can run the Flugel, which will help you on the EN supply efficiency in particular, because this build does have a notable weakness in that, and we have to use our jump distance in order to buy enough time to get the EN supply to kick in, and then also to refill our energy bar. Another notable mention might be something like the NGI, just for the stronger thrust and still have good boost speed, or the Gills. Again, the Gills is mainly just about having the ability to double dodge with QB, and that's more noticeable for pistols. But again, I don't want to over focus on one matchup type with this build. P05 is just for the plasma rifle having extremely strong tracking at medium range while still having strong missile lock and low EN cost. We don't really need to worry about close range assist all that much. The AoE of the plasma rifle tends to take care of that for us, especially if we're elevated, which we will be every time we QB. We'll be floating in the air and slightly shooting down, or if we jump up. Obviously, try not to jump up though. It's not a very strong position for you. You can do the charged plasma down, but if you don't stagger them, the Trenos are pretty risky if you're right above them, obviously, and that leaves you just with the Moonlight and the plasma rifle. Expansion wise, you can actually play with a whole bunch of different ones. I really wanted a build that could make use of pulse protection. This is a build that actually can. It's useful against both close range and long range matchups because if I'm against kites, it allows me to have basically 25 seconds where I'm Trenoing them. I can run back to it if I take a little bit of stagger buildup, and they have to basically allow me to get my impact reset. For rushdown builds, we can sort of alternate which side we're on of the pulse protection and use that to really draw out the fight enough to give us enough damage either to stagger them and get range and reset our impact buildup, or just to set up a really strong punish. But, I mean, obviously Pulse Armor is really good for any lightweight kite builds like this one is. And Assault Armor's also got a notable mention. You do have just enough stability if you Assault Boost tech their Assault Armor after getting staggered. So, like, let's say if a melee build staggers you, goes in for the melee punish, you pop Assault Armor, they pop Assault Armor to counter, but you activate Assault Boost into your kick. You will have just enough stability to survive that and stagger them and get your punish in trade. You will be one tap from getting staggered though, so it's a question on if it's worth going for the punish or just using the time to get space and get your stability reset yourself. So yeah, almost every expansion on this build, or actually every expansion can be used on this build. I like the pulse protection just because I wanted to have a build that could use it, and the jump distance makes it really easy to jump back into the radius, jump back out. At any given moment, just because even if we drift a bit away, I can always quickly QB over there and be back inside the bubble. And it really makes setting up the charged Moonlight really fun, especially at the start of matches against rushdown builds. You fire the Trenos to get the health lead, use pulse protection, and then as they rush you down, you start charging the Moonlight. Pulse protection will shield you, and you can fire your charged Moonlight right through the pulse protection and into them. So it basically helps you around the issue with the usually you take like a huge amount of damage when you're charging up the Moonlight because people just fire a bunch of shots into you while you're doing the animation, but you can actually shield it with pulse protection. I also thought about running PB Buckler on this build, and it is good. It just would really hurt you against lightweight kites, and so I decided just to commit to this and take the weaker matchup against rushdowns. But that is definitely an option for you if you want to do it. You can definitely get away with not making that sacrifice. Just given the EN issues on this build already, something to be aware of and mindful of is don't pull the trigger faster than the fire rate of the plasma rifle, as you will interrupt the EN recharge delay with each attempt. So here I'm just feathering the trigger, you can see the delay there. You can true combo the stagger punish with the charged Moonlight with the plasma rifle because it does its impact over time. Just fire the projectile and start pre-charging the Moonlight, allow it to trigger the stagger and the setup. This will be a punish if you stagger with a charged Moonlight slash, doesn't matter which one, but basically you're going to try to default using the Trenos as their better stagger punish. You can also follow that up with a charged plasma. I'm just going to show how you can use QB forward into your charged Moonlights in order to get more momentum as well. That's a really handy trick to get the Moonlight closer. And again, same idea. If you do stagger with the Trenos into your Moonlight, you can always follow up with a charged plasma as well for more damage than the stagger. Depends on if you want the space or if more damage is more valuable. Alright, let's jump into some matches. So here we've got a double stun gun, stun baton, and therapist. Obviously a stun build. I cannot afford to stay in close quarters here. So we're going to try to make use of spacing to use the Trenos more. And hopefully the Moonlight and plasma will just DPS them to death before they can trigger any complications. This is a really fun time to use the pulse protection. So you'll see how using the shield, like just zipping in and out, alternating the side that you're on to keep them on the other one. Either if they're inside, you're outside, or vice versa. You can see how frustrating that can be for opponents if they don't have a mini stun or some other option to hold you still. pretty interesting build here. Dual pistols, but using napalm to just keep me from, or keeping me getting staggered 50% faster. Same idea. Just keep space. Use the jump distance on the legs to keep pistols out of the in deflect range, and just leverage your DPS. Try to stall the fight as long as possible. I do mess with the expansions in some of these matches. I don't remember which one I'm running here, but the point is you can use almost all of them. And if you really want to just a safe option, pulse protection is always reliable. But pulse shield, I guess it is. Pulse protection, the bubble that I'm using, is just interesting and fun, so that's why I've been using it on most of my matches. Yeah, stagger firing the Trenos is really good, but also don't forget you can QB cancel the first salvo in order to trigger a false beep and make them waste QB energy. That's one way, and doing that a couple of times can really make it so they're spending too much energy and making your Trenos much more harder to predict. Okay, dual pistols with a slicer. So obviously just the main thing I would note here is if you can set it up such that the slicer is not in a good angle to punish when you do get staggered, that will save you the punish. They may even get the first part of it, but you should be able to QB out of it as long as it's not like optimal. So that's what I'm basically going to do or look to do in this fight, other than just my normal strategy of leveraging my ranged DPS and my just outright DPS if they walk into the charged Moonlight. Lightweights cannot afford to take charged Moonlight, by the way. It's just too much damage. So here I just use how you can see to make the slicer ineffective. But yeah, just like don't underestimate how much damage the charged Moonlight does on this build. It can just outright win the match for you many a time because of the health lead just being so oppressive. You'll just delete builds that are not tanky. Even tanky builds have to respect the damage that comes from it. So there, yeah, you can see I outspaced the slicer punish by complicating the angle and being directly above him. This match looks over, but you can see that charged Moonlight DPS just outright deletes the health bar there. So, and I was very close to losing there. So, if you land a charged Moonlight on a lightweight, it often is GG. So the opponent tries to play spacing here, but you can see that the Treno's chip health damage against lightweights is just too oppressive. They can't afford to just be eating those, especially if you're mixing up cancels with like to trigger false beeps, just burning too much battery. You know, you don't even really need the stagger damage. It's just the damage itself is often the thing that does the trick. The charged plasma you've also seen in this match a lot of the time. Why it's so helpful against lightweight kites, just because of that spread. I'm not even good enough to soft lock or manual aim it, but if you were, then it's even more impressive. Same opponent, the double pistol with Slicer here. I think I just did a rematch on this one, but new map. And you'll see, I think he does a better job of dodging the Trenos this time. And then I end up having to create some false beep cancels in order to set up the landing of the true Trenos. Another really sneaky trick is to shoot the first one, or sorry, cancel, shoot the first one, cancel, and then shoot the second one. Then they never expect that many cancellations, and just the rhythm of it throws them off. Yeah, I'm going to use height here because I know I'm just going to lose the stagger race. So it's more important just to set up a poor punish angle than it is to try to avoid the stagger itself. Terrible map here. We have the donut map, I guess, which is terrible for the Trenos, and also the matchup's pretty scary. So Rebula damage is frightening for this build, as they can essentially delete my health bar immediately, and also can rush, and are also a rush down build, which is what our biggest weakness is, given we're not running the Worger. And slight mistake here, I don't use my Moonlight light slashes to finish off the stagger, and that ends up getting me killed here as I drop down. But right after this was the time to land the double Moonlight slash, and just finish the match in terms of HP. You can see how HP is more of a winning strategy with this build. You really just want to bleed out their health. The stagger race is something you're really trying to avoid. Okay, we got a lightweight dual missiles with an assault rifle and a Moonlight for punish. Main issue here is just going to be their ability to kite, but we'll use the charged plasma rifle's ability to splash as long as they're close enough and get them caught in that for a huge DPS, and the Treno to swat them out of the sky unless they rush us down. Okay, so tough matchup. Double ducket, double sweet 16. Using our jump distance and spacing, and in particular our height, when we are going to get staggered, in order to really trigger deflects as much as possible and keep the fight in our range where we can make more work with the plasma rifle. I would probably encourage not doing the charged plasma rifle against the builds like this, and just use like downward shots instead, because having one weapon that doesn't have a firing stance is crucial to keeping some space here. There are times where you got to go for the charge one, like when they're just almost staggered, you just can't afford it to not trigger. But you'll see I use the regular plasma rifle more often here. Now, like this bubble, I actually use it right by the skyscraper. Ends up blocking my Trenos, but the ability to go up into it when he races up into the air on me allows me to draw the fight out a long time here, and he doesn't manage to get his stagger so easy. And if you ever do get a stagger against build like this, use that for spacing. Don't go for a massive punish. Just get your impact reset, obviously, as I do there.
50%.